看看这空荡荡的候机大厅。
Shanghai Pudong Airport, once the busiest airport in the country, now looks deserted. It has lost its former glory. Look at the empty departure hall, with just a few people scattered around and many shops still closed. This summer in Shanghai feels unusually cold. This gentleman says that Shanghai Pudong Airport's former bustling atmosphere is gone, with few passengers even during the summer travel season.
现在出境这么萧条吗？
Is international travel really this sluggish now? The satellite terminal at Pudong Airport has very few people, and aside from one shop, most are closed. Foreign travelers waiting for their flights are lying down here. The departure area at Pudong Airport has few people around and only a few shops open. The continuous economic downturn in China has directly affected the operations of its aviation industry. Recently, several listed Chinese airlines released their performance forecast for the first half of 2024, with the four major airlines, Air China, China Southern Airlines, China Eastern Airlines, and Hainan Airlines, all reporting losses. The highest loss could reach up to 8.1 billion yuan. On July 11th, Air China, China Southern Airlines, and China Eastern Airlines released their first half performance forecast for 2024, showing varying degrees of losses. The announcements indicate that Air China expects a net loss attributable to shareholders of 2.3 billion to 3 billion yuan for the first half of this year. After excluding non-recurring gains and losses, the net loss is expected to be between 2.8 billion and 3.8 billion yuan. Air China explained that despite their efforts to cut costs and increase efficiency, the recovery of international routes was slower than expected. Competition in the domestic market intensified, and fluctuations in oil prices and exchange rates continued to impact their operations, resulting in losses for the first half of the year. China Eastern Airlines announced an expected net loss attributable to shareholders of 2.4 billion to 2.9 billion yuan for the first half of 2024. Compared to a net loss of almost 7 billion yuan in the same period last year. China Eastern attributed the losses to limited airport resources and local air traffic rights affecting some routes, especially in North America and Japan. They also faced increased competition in the domestic passenger market and high fuel prices, resulting in improved but still negative performance for the first half of 2024. China Southern Airlines stated that the external environment for civil aviation development remains complex and variable. The domestic market is oversupplied, the recovery of the international market faces challenges, and frequent extreme weather combined with high oil price fluctuations continue to exert significant pressure on their operations, leading to losses in the first half of 2024. For the first half of this year, Air China, China Eastern Airlines, and China Southern Airlines expect a total loss of 5.8 billion to 7.5 billion yuan. According to previous financial reports from the three major airlines, they collectively lost 13.4 billion yuan in 2023, with China Eastern Airlines reporting the highest losses. In 2022, the three airlines combined lost 108.6 billion yuan. Hainan Airlines, the fourth largest airline in China, released its performance forecast on the evening of July 12, expecting a net loss attributable to shareholders of 600 million to 670 million yuan for the first half of this year, compared to a loss of 1.6 billion yuan in the same period last year. In the first quarter of this year, Hainan Airlines achieved revenue of 17.6 billion yuan, a year-on-year increase of 33.5%, and a net profit attributable to shareholders of 687 million yuan, a year-on-year increase of 334.5%. However, in the second quarter, Hainan Airlines turned from profit to loss, with an estimated net loss of 1.3 billion to 1.4 billion yuan. Hainan Airlines attributed its expected losses to the incomplete recovery of international routes, high oil prices, and exchange rate fluctuations. Since June, Hainan Airlines' stock price has been declining, approaching the delisting red line of 1 yuan per share. On July 7, Hainan Airlines affiliated company Fangda Carbon announced plans to invest up to 119 million yuan in Hainan Airlines A shares. Fangda Carbon is a listed company under Liaoning Fangda Group, On December 8, 2021, the operational control of Hainan Airlines' aviation business was officially transferred to strategic investor Liaoning Fangda Group, with the actual controller changing to natural person Fang Wei, who is currently the chairman of Liaoning Fangda Group. However, Hainan Airlines' stock price has not seen significant improvement, remaining below 2 yuan per share since February 2022 and hovering below 1.5 yuan per share. On June 28, Hainan Airlines' stock price hit the red line of 1 yuan per share, signaling a warning. According to Jiemian News, Hainan Airlines' restructuring plan involved settling approximately 1.1 billion yuan in common debt, with 635 million yuan paid in cash and the remaining 477 million yuan settled in shares priced at 3.18 yuan per share. Despite its restructuring, Hainan Airlines still faces significant debt pressure. At the end of the first quarter of this year, Hainan Airlines' debt ratio was as high as 98.5%, with total liabilities of 132.7 billion yuan. According to the 2021 restructuring plan, Hainan Airlines received approximately 25 billion yuan in cash flow supplements from Fangda Group and settled nearly 40 billion yuan in debt through debt-to-equity swaps. After restructuring, Hainan Airlines' interest-bearing debt was reduced to 60 billion yuan and its total assets were 170 billion yuan, with total liabilities of 138 billion yuan, resulting in a debt ratio of 81%. Among the airlines that released their financial reports, 3 private-listed airlines predicted profits. Spring Airlines expected a net profit attributable to shareholders of 1.29 billion to 1.35 billion yuan. Junyao Airlines expects a net profit of 450 million to 550 million yuan, and China Express Airlines expects a profit of 22 million to 32 million yuan. Overall, the second quarter performance of most airlines was worse than the first quarter, which the industry attributes to the second quarter being a traditional off-season for civil aviation. The performance forecasts of the 4 major airlines all mentioned reasons for the losses, such as the slower-than-expected recovery of international routes and intensified competition in the domestic market. Civil aviation expert Lin Zhejie analyzed that the 4 major airlines were significantly impacted by competition from high-speed rail in the first half of the year. However, the most critical factor behind this is the lack of market demand. After last year's surge in travel, the market has returned to a more rational state. Previously, people would travel regardless of high ticket prices, but now they only travel if the tickets are cheap. This is a significant change in the market this year. Several industry insiders predict that it will still be challenging for China's civil aviation industry to achieve an overall profit for the year. The latest 2023 China Civil Aviation Statistical Bulletin shows that the industry completed passenger transportation for 620 million people, an increase of 146.1% compared to the previous year. However, this is still below the 660 million passengers in 2019, before the pandemic. Despite the demand not fully recovering, especially for international routes, the number of civil aviation planes has continued to grow. By the end of 2023, there were 4,013 planes, 71 more than at the end of 2022 and 368 more than at the end of 2019, an increase of over 10%. The latest data from the Civil Aviation Administration shows that in the first half of this year, the industry completed passenger transportation for 350 million people, a 9% increase compared to the same period in 2019. Domestic routes carried 320 million people, a 12% increase from 2019, while international routes carried 29.7 million people, reaching 82% of the 2019 level. The incomplete recovery of international routes means that many wide-body aircraft, which are typically used for long-haul international flights, are now operating in the domestic market, affecting ticket prices, aircraft utilization rates, and load factors. Industry experts believe that the civil aviation market is now more competitive, with consumers becoming more sensitive to ticket prices. With a significant supply-demand imbalance, airlines face pressure from overcapacity. Among Chinese airlines, Air China, China Eastern Airlines, China Southern Airlines, and Hainan Airlines have the highest proportion of international routes and the most wide-body aircraft. They are most affected by the slow recovery of the international market, resulting in more severe losses. In contrast, low-cost carrier Spring Airlines, which does not operate wide-body aircraft or intercontinental routes, is less affected by the slow recovery of international routes. Due to its cost advantages and ability to remain profitable in the domestic market despite overcapacity, Spring Airlines is performing relatively well. Lin Zhejie pointed out that it remains challenging for Chinese airlines to achieve profitability for the entire year. The industry is currently facing overcapacity with an increase in flight numbers but a slow market recovery, leading to a price war. This situation is exacerbated by the flat demand during the peak travel seasons this year, such as the May Day holiday, during which several airlines reported losses, which is unusual. According to reports, traditionally, the New Year, May Day, and summer seasons are peak periods for airline profits. However, before this year's May Day holiday, domestic airfares in China plummeted. Although passenger numbers hit a record high during the Dragon Boat Festival holiday, ticket prices were lower than in 2023 and 2019. Several airline representatives revealed that there is still pressure to increase ticket prices during the peak summer travel season. This year's summer travel season runs from July 1st to August 21st. The Civil Aviation Administration predicts that during this period, the total number of civil aviation passengers will reach 133 million, with a daily average of 2.15 million passengers, a 10% increase from 2019 and a 5% increase from 2023. However, according to ticket price data from the civil aviation travel service platform Hanglu Zhongheng, the average price of domestic airline tickets, excluding taxes, from July 11th to August 31st is about 1,012 yuan, an 8% decrease compared to the previous year. The average price for international routes also decreased by about 6% year-on-year. Industry insiders have analyzed that in the context of excess capacity, competition on domestic routes is becoming increasingly fierce. To gain market share, airlines are continuously lowering ticket prices, causing prices to drop further. Professor Zhou Jianjuan from the Civil Aviation Management Institute of China believes that the aviation market in 2024 might not show very optimistic performance. The first quarter may be better than 2024, but the third quarter may be disappointing. The industry's struggle to overcome challenges will be a recurring theme throughout the year. At the beginning of this year, during the 2024 National Civil Aviation Work Conference, Song Zhiyong, the director of the Civil Aviation Administration of China, revealed that in 2023, the civil aviation industry reduced its losses by 187.2 billion yuan. He had previously disclosed that in 2022, the industry's losses reached 216 billion yuan. According to official data, during the 3 years of pandemic lockdowns from 2020 to 2022, China's civil aviation industry suffered severely, with cumulative losses nearing 400 billion yuan. In 2022 alone, the losses were 216 billion yuan. Data from C-Trip shows that in 2023, international passenger flights in China only recovered to 37.5% of the 2019 level. Despite continuous losses in recent years, the 3 major airlines in China are still purchasing a large number of new aircraft. Reports indicate that this year, each of the 3 major airlines announced plans to purchase 100 domestically produced C919 aircraft. In January, Air China's fleet size increased to 908 aircraft, making it the largest airline fleet in China. In February, China Southern Airlines introduced 6 new planes, surpassing Air China to regain its position as the largest airline in Asia. In April, Air China's operating fleet reached 914 aircraft, once again taking the lead. Air China's new additions included 1 ARJ21700 and 2 B737 series planes. In April, China Southern Airlines added 3 planes, B737 MAX and A321neo, and retired 9 planes, A321, A320, A330-200, B737-700. totaling 911 operational aircraft. China Eastern Airlines, another major airline, introduced 4 new planes in April, 3 ARJ series and 1 A320 series, and retired 1 A320 series plane, operating a total of 789 aircraft, ranking 3rd. The competition for the title of China's largest airline continues, with a focus on introducing the domestically produced C919 aircraft. On April 26th, Air China announced plans to purchase 100 C919 aircraft extended range from COMAC, with deliveries scheduled between 2024 and 2031. On April 29th, China Southern Airlines announced in the Hong Kong Stock Exchange that it had also agreed to purchase 100 basic model C919 aircraft from COMAC. China Southern Airlines' order price for each C919 is $99 million, totaling 9.9 billion, approximately 71.64 billion yuan for 100 aircraft. In comparison, China Southern Airlines' financial report shows that in 2023, the net cash flow generated from operating activities was 40 billion yuan. Introducing a large number of aircraft requires significant funds, with leasing and borrowing being the main ways to alleviate cost pressure. Aircraft leasing is divided into finance leasing and operating leasing, which extend the payment period and significantly reduce the cash flow pressure on airlines. As of the end of March 2024, Air China operated a total of 911 aircraft, including 398 owned, 217 under finance leasing, and 296 under operating leasing. However, leasing is not free. Airlines still have to pay high leasing fees. According to industry consultancy Ishka, the monthly lease for an Airbus A321neo is $420,000, about 3 million yuan. And for a Boeing 737 MAX 8, it is around $360,000, about 2.6 million yuan. Financial reports indicate that China Southern Airlines' total debt in 2023 was 257.2 billion yuan, including 88.493 billion yuan in lease liabilities. Air China's total debt for 2023 was 300 billion yuan. Aviation commentator Chichi noted that airlines operate with heavy assets, and the leasing liabilities of the 3 major airlines have been increasing annually. Additionally, the safety and reliability of the domestically produced C919 aircraft have been questioned by external sources. Insiders have revealed that the so-called domestically produced C919 is essentially a combination of components from various countries. Its assembly, maintenance, and parts supply all present challenges. For instance, the Safran aircraft engines and Honeywell electronic systems are subject to European technological controls. If any parts are missing, subsequent supplies cannot be guaranteed, and the lack of critical data from foreign manufacturers makes it difficult to ensure continuous, reliable, and economical flights. Previously, the South China Morning Post reported that although the C919 has entered commercial operation, it relies heavily on American parts and technology. As relations between Beijing and Washington deteriorate, the U.S. has expanded export controls and trade sanctions on China's high-end technology, including semiconductors and aviation, which undoubtedly impacts China's aviation industry. In May last year, the C919 made its first commercial flight and was certified to carry passengers only within mainland China, operated by China Eastern Airlines. Currently, global airlines have limited options for purchasing commercial aircraft. The global market for large civil aircraft is dominated by 2 companies, Boeing in the US and Airbus in Europe. Industry insiders suggest that the C919 lacks the competitiveness to draw international buyers away from these 2 giants, as it is less fuel efficient than Boeing and Airbus aircraft. For the C919 to fly internationally, it must obtain airworthiness certification from either the Federal Aviation Administration (FAA) in the US or the European Union Aviation Safety Agency (EASA). Only with one of these certifications can the aircraft be used by airlines in Western countries. However, obtaining either certification is a daunting task. CNN reported that the C919 has not yet received certification from US and European aviation regulatory bodies, which is a significant disadvantage. Why does the Chinese government continue to invest heavily in purchasing Airbus aircraft despite the substantial losses in the civil aviation industry? Political commentator Wang He previously wrote that the reasons are threefold. First, to maintain relations with the European Union. The Chinese government sees the gap between the US and the EU and wants to widen it significantly. Second, to exert pressure on the US. Historically, the Chinese government has played the commercial card to influence US policy towards China. By hurting Boeing, the Chinese government aims to force it to lobby the US government. Third, to gradually undermine Airbus. Wang He pointed out that as of the end of 2020, Airbus aircraft accounted for 51% of the active aircraft in China's civil aviation market. Airbus has paid a high price, exchanging technology for market access. The Chinese government's strategy is to establish its own large aircraft industry. Once China's large aircraft industry is fully developed, what will happen to Airbus's market position?